Good evening, everybody. This is Mike Tedesco, the editor-in-chief of Wrestleview.com. Welcome to Post Raw number 89. 89, wow. Next week we'll get to number 90, and then it's just 10 shows to go until 100. And man, what a journey it's been to 100. It's and I would say most of the people in the chat room right now have been with us from day one. So exciting times are coming up in the next probably 2.5 months or so. Something to look forward to in 2020. God knows we all need it. We all need it. It's just a crazy year, a really, really crazy year. Pandemic doesn't look to be stopping anytime soon. Just crazy news coming out all around. It's like, you think it's all done, and then it's like, oh, sad news. This celebrity died. You got the girl from Glee that drowned, and John Travolta's wife. It's like, oh my gosh, more bad news. So I'm happy. I hope, to me at least, the 100th show of Post Raw coming up is exciting news and good news for us, at least, that we've been around for this long, and you've stuck with us and you've supported us the entire way. Victoria will be around in a little while. Liliana went down a little late tonight to bed, so we got that going on. In the meantime, if you're watching us for the first time, welcome to the channel, and please subscribe. We have a lot of good content here, and we got a lot of good content coming up this week. On Thursday, I'm looking to tape a Wrestleview news with Jerome Weiland, because there's a lot of stuff to talk about, and there's a lot of stuff to get caught up on, and we have our own unique take on some of the things happening in the wrestling world, so we'll be giving our opinions on that. On Friday, immediately, not quite immediately, but pretty immediately following SmackDown, around 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Doug Lackey will be hosting Wrestleview Weekly, giving his predictions for Extreme Rules. The horror show at Extreme Rules on Sunday. So he'll be giving his predictions then. So there will be no Wrestleview Weekly this Sunday. Instead, on Sunday, we are going to have another episode of Wrestleview Live with me and Doug doing our thing, reviewing the horror show at Extreme Rules. So, yeah, we've got a lot of stuff going on. It's an exciting time for wrestling, but there's also some issues with wrestling that I am most definitely going to talk about. And in particular, I really want to talk about the rights and wrongs that WWE made during this pandemic. I remember saying months ago that WWE had a real golden opportunity to increase their fan base, really, because they would be the only, really. And they still kind of are, except for UFC, but they're only, doing shows on Saturday nights. They're really the only live, sporting event, something athletic going on right now. Baseball's coming back on July 24th, so that's happening. But, there's nothing else going on right now. So WWE had a golden opportunity, a 4-month head start. March, April, May, June, July. Yeah, 4 months. 4-month head start on Major League Baseball as the next, as the first sport coming back. They even had a 2-month start, I think, on UFC. Did they take advantage of it? Did they make the right moves? Questionable. I would like to talk about that. So we will momentarily. But before I start talking about all that stuff, I want to say hi to everybody that's in the chat room, and a special hello to all those that download the show and watch it and listen to us on Spotify. On your own time, for those that watch us on demand. We get a lot of great people here live in the chat room with us as we do the show, and it's always great to talk to them. But, we've been getting pretty good numbers in these last few weeks, so people have been, tuning in after the show and stuff like that. So I just want those people to know, in particular, we definitely appreciate you, but I absolutely appreciate those that are here live right now, and let's say hello to them. Chris LG in the chat room. Golf ain't athletic, Mike. That's true. Golf is something. They're doing something. I just don't pay attention. All right, let me scroll up. Okay. Oh, by the way, we have a couple moderators in the chat room tonight too. We got Nafis and Quentin are our moderators, so thank you guys for doing that. Thank you so much. Det Morales in the chat room tonight. Ric Flair and Randy Orton couldn't save Raw. We got Uncle Billy in the chat room tonight. We got Quentin Walters. We got Mr. V. The venerable Mr. V, the wonderful Mr. V, is in the chat room tonight. We got Goosey in the chat room. Goose, how are you, buddy? I think I said Hayden Barker already, but if I didn't, Hayden Barker in the chat room. I said Nafis's name. How dare I not just straight up say, hello, Nafis. Nafis, good to see you. You are the man. We like you so much. Quentin Walters, you're the man. We like you so much. Jorge Oliva, our big fan from Mexico, is in the chat room tonight. Mashoon Walls, another fun Monday night, Mike. Yes. So Mashoon is here. Holy F, Mike finally got a camera that didn't make him look like he was in standard definition. Well, I was in standard definition, believe it or not, Goosey. On my MacBook, it just couldn't stream 1080p or even 720. It had nothing. So I actually moved us down to standard definition. So I did invest in a new computer, and I was like, well, I got a new computer. I got to get a new camera as well. So I did all that stuff. Hayden Barker says Liliana had to stay up to watch the wrestling, of course. Goosey says 100 post Raws. Congrats, you guys are criminally insane. Yes, I like that. Jorge Oliva, hola, Familia Tedesco. Hope you are staying safe, and I expect Familia Tedesco gives us your picks for Extreme Rules. We could do that. I mean, that's Doug's thing, but we won't put any shots on the line. How about that? We won't do that. I said hi to Det. There's no Daniel Shell in the chat room tonight. There's no Daniel Shell, so I'm a little not happy about that. Somebody want to call him out? And by the way, there's a few people missing here. Where's Andrew Elder? We got to get these people going here. Maybe they don't know that it's on right now, but they got to recognize and get going here. How's Victoria and Liliana? Nafis asks. They are doing well. So well, let me bring in Victoria right now. Here she is. Can you see me? I see you perfectly.
No, is the camera fine?
It's more than fine. It's totally perfect. How are yes, there she is. She's asleep.
For now.
For now, yes. I'm sure Victoria will be going in and out tonight. But we'll figure it out. We always do.
We are teething.
She's teething hardcore again. Yeah, Mashoon Walls paging Mr. 69. Well, speaking of 69,
I didn't get to read it, but Andrew and Daniel Shell, they both tagged me in something on Facebook.
Uh-oh.
So I feel like I didn't get to read it before, but I just saw their names and I'm like, are they telling me they're not coming to the show tonight? So I have to actually look at the Wrestleview page and see what they said to me.
Why don't you do that
presently? I can't see.
What does that mean?
I don't have my glasses on.
Oh. You want me to go get your glasses?
No, I don't have my contacts either.
But you can wear glasses.
I don't want to wear my glasses because those are embarrassing because they're not my glasses.
They are your glasses now because I stepped on the other ones and they're dead.
But I don't like those other ones. I like them. They're good for now.
How about this? Okay, can the chat room help us out here? Let's just have Victoria wear the glasses for a few moments and everybody give their honest opinion on the glasses.
No, that's worse.
They look fine. They're good glasses.
No, they don't.
Oh my gosh. Well, anyway, let's take a look at the Twitter poll right now. For Raw, we got, wow, perfect numbers here. 75% thumbs up, 25% down for Raw tonight.
Wow. You hardly ever get that.
Yeah.
Wonderful stay by the end of the night.
I'm wondering where that's going to wind up. I truly am. Vincent DiGirolamo in the chat room, and I'm Victoria Tedesco.
Oh my! All week he's been doing that. It's so annoying. He's just been texting me. He's like, and I'm Victoria Tedesco. I'm like, really?
That's
how else am I supposed to introduce myself? I don't understand.
That's brothers for you.
Okay, so if Vin's in the chat room, I'm definitely not putting my glasses on.
Oh no, you got to put the glasses on.
No way. And when he comes over on Sunday, I will put my contacts in. He will not see me with those glasses.
Goosey with the line of the night.
Oh gosh, what?
Wrestleview Radio hosted by Mike Tedesco and Stevie Wonder tonight, apparently.
Why Stevie Wonder?
Because you can't see, you said.
Oh, I get it now.
Ay.
For a minute I thought you said Stevie Nicks, and I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, what? Stevie Wonder. Now I get it. Okay.
I like that one. Det Morales, what happened to Lars Sullivan? Well, a lot happened. Lars Sullivan blew up his knee last year, and then some old messages blew up his career. Yeah. And given the current climate of this country, even if he's 100% healthy, well, number one, just given what he said, he's almost like you can never bring him back again.
I would
never bring that guy back.
Well, I would, to be honest with you, I don't want to.
Considering the current climate of the country, you just can't ever bring him back.
I don't think he should.
Forever. And he, honestly, he's got like that unique look, that monsterish look, but a lot of guys have that. He's nothing special.
No, we don't miss him.
From what he did, he did nothing. You know, like and he had 2 months. He had 2 months on the roster and really showed nothing. You know, they built him up a little bit. There's nothing there.
Can I just say one thing about him real quick?
Say 2 things.
In regards to the current climate, like you said.
I'll let you say 2 things about it.
I don't need somebody like that working for the company who's not a good representation. And, you know, the whole like resurfacing of things, and, you know, some people argue that like, oh, they said it a really long time ago. He hasn't really shown that he's grown from anything. In fact, he still kind of continued to make weirder marks when he did work for the company again, even though things resurfaced when he wrote stuff in the past. There were things that he kind of said recently, within the past few months, that he said that were not okay. Well, I'm not putting them on. Get out of here.
Just show them. At least just show them.
I'm not showing them. Fine, I'll show them. I'm not putting them on, though.
They're nice.
They're not. I look like a freak.
Okay.
And with Vin in the chat room, hell no, that's not happening.
Well, anyway, you were saying about Lars Sullivan.
I was just saying, I you know, even though things resurface and you talk about things that happened a long time ago, he's also said things within the past year or so that have not been good at all. So I don't need him. Like, he's not. And first of all, you don't need anybody like that. Obviously, if you're going to make comments like that, we don't need you. Like, get out of here.
I agree.
So there's nothing to, like, miss, honestly. Yeah. He can stay on Doug's milk carton forever and go bye-bye.
he's actually not on the milk carton because he's technically injured. But I actually think by now, it's been over a year since his knee surgery. He has to be healthy. I think Doug's got to put him on the milk carton now. I think so. And I think that I don't think they're going to hire him back. I don't think he's coming back. And he was fined what was it, like a year's salary?
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. No. It wasn't a year. It was $100,000. That's what he was fined by the company.
Because
and that was legit. Like it came out that was a legit fine. It wasn't like just like a bullshit like, oh, we're fining this guy. It's
not
like,
only did he make like racist comments, he made homophobic comments.
Yeah.
He made.
I mean, every bad thing you could possibly do, the guy did. And
every person
and he's shown no, like, you know, like it's one thing to say those things and then it's like, okay, well, I was a dumb kid. And,
he has no remorse.
Like I've changed and like this is like, you know, my life since then. It's like, it wasn't like comments that he made when he was like 16 years old. It was like comments he made when he was like in his 20s, and he's shown no signs. I mean, like I'm all for second chances on people, and I think that kind of gets lost, like in this, like, you know, hyper, you know, sensitive cancel culture era right now. It's like, you know, so like nobody ever takes a moment to like turn things into like teachable moments, or, you know, try to reform people. It's just like, oh, you made a mistake, you're done. Without even giving them like a chance to like, you know, from stuff from years ago, and nothing came out, you know, like that's like, oh, in the last like 5 years they did all this crazy stuff too. It's like, no, it's like 15-20 years ago, like, this guy's done, you're done. Like, you got to give people, you have to assume, like, you know, give people a chance that and some, you know, peace of mind that they could change, you know. But Lars Sullivan, like it's pretty clear that he didn't change. He came into WWE with that attitude, and
well, that's the thing.
There were some issues there.
He's ignorant. Like, it's not just like he's ignorant. He has no clue. He wasn't educated. He clearly knew what he said. He's a racist. He's a homophobe. He's like that. That's what it comes down to.
Right.
And that's the bottom line with that. So I don't need somebody like that in the company. I just don't.
And that's our long story short on Lars Sullivan there. Nafis asking, because now Nafis is a moderator in the chat room. If you want him to take care of it and boot him. No.
No, I won't boot my brother.
And he's kidding as well. We know.
I will not boot my brother.
Where was it? Oh, yeah. Hayden Barker says, of course, Victoria is a freak. She married Mike.
Facts.
You have to be a little off.
Facts.
You got to be a little off. So before we jump into the Raw report tonight, well, actually, it was really the recap that made me think about this.
Okay.
And
I don't even know where you're going with this, so it's going to be a surprise to me.
So I was watching the Seth Rollins promo, and I was recapping it. And I think you saw me out of the corner of your eye. Hold on, let me grab this. I have a keyboard that I use for my MacBook. It's just portable. I can just relax and type however I want. I don't have that laptop on my lap. And halfway through typing it, I just went and put my head in my hands because I was like, "What? No, like this is just too far. It just seems so damn." Desperate. This eye for an eye thing. Seth Rollins out there trying to put over, like, actually gouging a guy's eye out. And I'm like, God, ratings are in the toilet. Interest is, like, at an all-time low in wrestling. Site hits on Wrestleview and all wrestling sites. Because I've talked to other people that have wrestling sites. It's like, people just aren't even interested, to hear some of the news coming out. It's just like, this pandemic should have been like, hey, everybody, we're still around. All the other organizations shut down, NBA, NHL, MLB, Major League Soccer, they all shut down. But we're still here. And it was a great opportunity for them to kind of capitalize on that and create new fans. Being on Fox should have been a major boon for them. People flipping through the channels.
Yeah.
Interested in watching something that's live, and something happened and they just didn't take advantage of that whatsoever. I have some theories on that.
I do too.
And, it really just goes back to those first 2 weeks in March where they had the numbers. And as soon as they found out that we have to shut down and, we have to move everything to the Performance Center, that should have been like, we got to snap into creative mode. We got to figure out a way to get this going here immediately.
Yeah.
And not wait until WrestleMania to start breaking out some, new concepts, which the only concept they broke out was a cinematic match, which in all honesty, made that WrestleMania memorable. And obviously, other than the pandemic, memorable in a good way rather than a negative way. With the Boneyard match and even the Firefly Funhouse, which that got mixed reviews, but I still appreciate the artistic,
idea behind it.
Mm-hmm. But those first few weeks, the numbers were above normal, especially on SmackDown, especially on Raw. Like, I get it. It was all a big question mark. Like, what can we do? What can't we do? But it's like, right away they should have started pumping in crowd noise. Yeah, there are some people that definitely got, pushed that wouldn't have been pushed during the pandemic. Like Asuka, of course, is like, number one on that.
Like a total superstar. Zelina
Vega, showed a lot there.
Mm-hmm.
Even like, Randy Orton and Edge got a chance to like, do some different things.
Yeah.
But like the big question mark of like, well, how do we do empty shows and stuff like that? They made the wrong choice by showing matches, like old matches, and then going back to the Performance Center where it's like, we just saw this WrestleMania match with the big crowd and all that stuff, and then we go back to it was just too stark of a contrast. And I really think that's just that people were just like, this is just too weird, I'm turning this off. And they didn't get a chance to bring in new fans, and in fact they actually turned away some old ones. The storylines are just like, they were kind of, they just stayed the same. It was like the same crap that you watch every week. There was nothing unique about it. They never really called attention to the fact that there's no one there, and they probably should have. You could have done stuff like that.
You have to make a story behind it.
I think, like, there's a lot of positives that they did, but there are some major issues, and now it's like they're in desperation mode, and now you have a match where it's like, okay, now we're going to gouge somebody's eye out, which obviously is going to be gimmicked, obviously, but they essentially promised you that someone's going to get their eye gouged out. How do you like somebody put on the Wrestleview comments on the post on the Raw report, like, this reminds me of when WWF at the time in '98 for King of the Ring promised that Kane was going to set himself on fire if he didn't win the WWF title in the first blood match with Steve Austin. He was going to set himself on fire. Like, how do you work yourself into that corner? So they actually had to give Kane the title at King of the Ring because they obviously were going to have him set himself on fire and kill the character and, put Glenn Jacobs in danger. And then he drops it to Austin the next night on Raw. Like, how, like this is like totally painting yourself in a corner again. It's like, how did you get yourself into this situation? It's like so weird. What say you?
You know what? With the whole, in regards to what you just said about how, like, this was an opportunity to get creative and this is an opportunity to kind of change things up, I completely agree with you. I think initially the thought was, unfortunately, like anything else, how realistically are we going to keep this going? I think they were kind of like a deer in the headlights at first, which now looking back, at first I was a little bit upset. I'm like, I was like, no, they need to do this, they need to do that. I'm like, WrestleMania should be with SummerSlam and blah, 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 blah. Like, they need to kind of, but nobody knew anything, and you can forgive them for that, for being a deer in the headlights at first. You 100% can.
And that's a great way to put it too. The deer in the headlights. That's
they
exactly
had,
what it was.
yeah, because nobody knew. Absolutely, not just WWE. Nobody knew what was going to happen. And then once we started getting more into this, and the longer we started kind of getting more into this, it's kind of like, okay, now we can like dabble into our creative mode. I mean, now we really know what's going on. So now they really should be like stepping it up and doing what they need to do. I feel like they were kind of late to the game, though, a little bit, only in the sense of, like, with AEW, I'm not saying they immediately had, people in the crowd or anything like that, but they did try it a lot sooner than WWE did. And, the Randy Orton match and Edge, like, they finally had, like, crowd noise and piping and crowd noise and stuff like that. But I feel like it took them a while to feel like they kind of kicked their heels a little bit on the idea of, like, we need to do stuff to
like we need to change the way we're doing our television, like, immediately. Like if you remember back to like those first weeks, you talk about what AEW did, bringing in a crowd, like just having superstar, like having their wrestlers around the ring making noise.
Yes,
they were also the first ones to point the hard camera at the stage rather than the empty seats. And how long did WWE wait to do that?
AEW also, they did address the fact that this is weird, this is different.
Their very first segment.
WWE like wanted to make it like it never even happened.
They've never said coronavirus, never said COVID or anything like that.
Which you should, because
it shows that like we're all in this together. Like you want to create fans. Like you want to like how about start by like showing like some humanity. It's like hey, you know what, you're you're suffering from fear of COVID and all that stuff, like so are we, and we're with you, and we're still gonna bring you entertainment and stuff like that. And I think the closest they got was Stephanie McMahon saying there won't be 80,000 people in a stadium due to the current conditions or current situation.
Yeah, she didn't even say.
Like so,
no one's mentioned
corporate neutered language. It's like totally cold.
I think another thing that AEW did also too, when they had their crowd, like they had their whoever was in the right. Which W just started, which I noticed tonight. When they had like their crowd, they weren't over exaggerating their reaction to things. They kept it very natural, which initially with the WWE NXT people that they had, they were very like, oh, boo, oh, like they were very it was comical. Like it was like the pipe noise that you get when you're watching like a sitcom, like the typical like reaction to things, but there was no authenticity to it. But I noticed tonight though, it was they definitely calmed down a little bit. Like it was a little bit more of like a natural reaction as opposed to like, whatever. So I don't know if another thing with this too is the fact that they were switching over, again, not trying to excuse anything, but the fact that they switched from Heyman to Pritchard, I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I don't know why they didn't take the opportunity. Again, it's forgivable in the beginning because now you don't know. And initially, I'm sure they thought that maybe they were going to have a SummerSlam with the crowd, right? I'm sure they actually thought that at some point.
I mean, when this whole pandemic happened, if you told me that we were going to be out of school for like the entire rest of the year, and we might not even start up in September, we're probably not going to start up in September. I would even venture to say. I just said you're crazy, let alone not have SummerSlam. I was like, okay, WrestleMania they're going to take a shot on that, but I initially remember we were talking about like
combining.
Why can't they just do WrestleMania at SummerSlam?
But now
have to save that card for later.
Absolutely, but now we know.
We
know this isn't it for the long haul. This isn't over. So now they should be like doing stuff where and they're slowly doing a lot. Like you said, with the cinematic matches and now bringing in the crowd noise and having fans there and everything. But they kind of had a halt again because now with their numbers coming up within the roster, people having COVID, now they're kind of stuck again.
Yeah.
So, but they really need to they're just late to the program. That's for whatever reason. And I'm not really sure.
Well, not only are they stuck, but now they're like scrambling. It's like they're trying to do anything just to kind of get attention.
This eye for an eye thing is,
and that's why
ridiculous.
I started thinking of this with the ridiculousness of this and the absurdity of this eye for an eye match, where it's like, okay, I get it, it's no secret, it's come out, it's pretty much all but confirmed except for by WWE, and I reached out to them. Of course, they're not going to comment on that. They did comment on Dean Ambrose though when he was leaving, but Rey Mysterio is working without a contract right now. And, believe what you want, but, they haven't settled on it yet. So is this eye for an eye thing a way to write him off for right now? But that's like the stupidest way to write somebody off, because eventually he's going to, they're going to settle with him. He's one of their biggest stars, and he's 45 years old, and that just goes to show, how great a job they did creating stars through the years. And we've talked about that already, but they're going to settle with him.
I feel like this is true.
I know he wants a raise, but it's hard to give a raise when they cut so many people and we're in a pandemic right now. But they'll renege. They'll figure something out. Maybe they pay him more next year. They pay him a little bit here this year, and then they double it next year. Or
to me, this is
something. They're going to figure it out. So you rip a guy's eye out. How the hell is he supposed to come back from that?
This whole stipulation to me is just way too extreme, and I never even knew about the Kane stuff, obviously, because I'm not there yet with watching everything. But it's like, why? We're not in that era anymore. We're in a totally different era, and we don't need to rely on like that gore type of match in order to bring interest in it.
Yeah, but even when they had gore, they never did something like this. This is stupid.
I just think it's completely stupid, because it's like, think about the physical anatomy of. I am just so curious on how they are going to do this, just because to me, this just makes no sense at all. You would really have to if you think about it physically, you would really have to attack somebody and maul somebody in the worst kind of way possible in order to do something like that.
Right.
To me, that makes
you can't fake it, so they can't just do it in the wrestling ring. Obviously, it has to be a cinematic match.
No shit, but but what I'm saying is I don't know. I don't even know how they're going to.
How are they going to work themselves out of this corner?
I don't know.
They promised it at this point.
Of course they did, but I don't understand why they couldn't just think
they did throw Rey Mysterio off the roof of the WWE headquarters.
But even that's a little bit more believable than, I guess,
than
somebody gouging
he
somebody's
landed on
eye
the
out.
Secondary roof. It's like, yeah, he didn't die. Okay, AJ Styles got buried alive and he came back. No issue at all.
Again, that's a little bit more believable than
you can dig
gouging
yourself out of
somebody's
a hole rather than you can't once your eye is out. In general, it's gone. It's over.
What is Rey Mysterio going to come up with a glass eye? I don't understand.
I know. Well, he wears contacts, so they could say, well, that's his dead eye now. It's like,
Oh, jeez.
So dumb. But like, I the one thing I did like about this tonight was Kevin Owens bringing up Jean-Pierre Lafitte, who is of course a PCO in Ring of Honor. That shows how long he's been around. Carl Ouellette, good lord.
Can I just say one thing?
Eye.
Too, I think that there is somebody out there in creative, right? I think
There's
they were overthinking it, and they're like, "Oh, how can we make this extreme, right? Like, how can we do?
I know where this is going.
How can we make this extreme, right?" And then all of a sudden, somebody's listening to somewhere out there in creative at this show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then how many times have you said a blindfold match? Like they should actually just have like a blindfold match, right?
Yeah.
Somebody probably is kicking themselves right now and goes, "Oh crap, we could have just done that. That would have been like an extreme type match, it hasn't been done in a while."
Well, it just seems like one of those like
I'm just saying, somebody definitely was like, "Oh, we didn't need to go that far. We could have done something a little bit more realistic."
Well, it seems like one of those like ideas that got brought up in like the writing process where somebody said, where Vince is like, "Well, what are we gonna do? How's this feud ending?" And someone's like, "Well, geez, Vince, why don't we just rip his goddamn eye out, huh?" And Vince is like, "Why can't we?" And then it just fucking develops into this. It's like,
or somebody that goes, "We could do an eye for an eye," not thinking that concept.
Right.
And then Vince with his brain just totally goes crazy and like you said, just is like, "Yeah, let's gouge his eye out."
Right. It's like,
and somebody in creative wrote, "Let's threaten to take his eye out." Like he wants to take his eye out. And then Vince is like, "Oh yeah, let's do it."
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take his freaking eye out. Yes.
And then Brucey's right in the background. "You're right."
yeah, boss. Whatever you say, we'll figure it out. We'll rip his fucking eye out. Don't worry about it.
And Heyman's probably like, what?"
Yeah, and it's like, as Nafis Sadat says, "Such good shit." Where's my puppet?
He's over there.
Oh, well, it would have been a good time to pull out the puppet.
Sorry.
Such good.
Do you want me to go get him?
No, it's all right.
All right.
We'll figure it out later. Maybe he'll make an appearance later on the show. Number 90's coming up next week. You know that, right?
No.
Yeah, number 90.
No.
So we're doing all right. Well,
wow. All right, we'll bring Vince in.
As we were just saying, like WWE had a real golden opportunity. Some things they did right. Like I don't want to take away anything, from Asuka and a lot of those people that wouldn't have gotten a chance in front of arena crowds that are now just, excelling.
And Drew's killing it.
Even like Otis, even though like they've if you remember that Otis had the Money in the Bank contract, you're a better person than me because I completely forgot about that. But like somebody like Otis gets a real big opportunity like that.
He's been on TikTok.
Has he? Okay. But like, like there's been a lot of positives that have come out of it, but not enough. There wasn't like a big creative push that put them over and made people say like, I want to continue tuning into this product. Obviously they tuned out. And my fear is
the action.
The action is it's just the same stuff you see every
same
week.
formula.
They never changed the matches. They could have done different things, tried different concepts, just tried different styles, like or even just said like, okay guys, just go out and try to be as entertaining as you can be. We're going to stop micromanaging everything. We have to create stars and we have to create interest. So take your personalities and turn them up to 11. We'll give you some bullet points and just let's see what happens. They're tape shows. You can retape some things. It's okay. But they never did it.
I think that was the other problem too. I'm sorry, I'll let you finish and I'll talk.
It's just my fear is like, once you get out of that
creative mindset.
Not the creative mindset, no, the routine of watching wrestling on Monday. When like, I've been watching wrestling on Mondays for 25 years. I couldn't imagine not watching it. And it's like you watch this show, it's like, I think I'm gonna skip this week. For like the first time in a long time, I'm gonna skip this week. And it's like you turn it on next week. You're like, I think I'm going to skip this week. And then it's just like watching wrestling on Monday was a thing you used to do. Can you get back into it with no stars? I don't know. That's the big question.
I don't know.
So what were you going to say, Victoria?
I was just going to say that I feel like that was another part of the issue initially, which was like you can... No, actually, this I really don't forgive them for. They shouldn't have been having live shows to begin with. Initially, when they were putting on just like live shows every week in itself, but then they started doing where they had to tape it because of the whole like guidelines.
Right, because they had a giant COVID outbreak.
But that's again what I don't know.
Baby's up.
I'll be back.
So I'm gonna take over the show for a little bit, and then Victoria will return as she gets our screaming little daughter, who poor thing is teething. Actually, she stayed asleep longer than I thought she would, so she just went down. So let's talk about Raw, everybody. I'm going to get into the Raw recap. The night of grudge matches. And, okay, you want to talk about, like, some mistakes they made? How about, like, you know, okay, so they actually did a good job of advertising matches ahead of time, because, like, these shows are taped. Like, why when I write the Raw preview on Monday morning, why am I writing like, oh, one match is advertised, nothing else is known at this point? Daniel Shell in the chat room. All right. Why is nothing else advertised at this point? It's like a tape show. Just tell us everything that's going to be on the show tonight. Maybe something will make somebody say, oh, I want to tune in and watch that. They don't do that. That's like the dumbest thing on earth to like not do something like that. But they did a good job tonight of advertising the matches. But then when the show started, it's like they told us that the women's tag team titles would be on the line in the main event. And then it was like they never mentioned it again. And it's like the third hour is the hour, of course, and as has been historically the case since they moved to 3 hours, the hour that everybody stops watching cold turkey completely. It's like they actually had a good main event. It was actually a pretty darn good women's tag team title match. And I don't think a fraction of who watched, the first 2 hours even remembered anything about it or watched it. It's like, why wouldn't we do something like that? Like, why wouldn't we just say, halfway through the show, oh, by the way, stay tuned for the main event tonight, Bayley and Sasha Banks versus the Kabuki Warriors. It's like they just had little graphics in the corner of the screen, but not that's the main event. Like, you can't just assume that wrestling fans have notoriously short memories. You can't just assume that they remember because you said it last week that they're going to have a tag title match. You got to keep beating them over the head with it and give them a reason to stick around. That's just odd to me. Very, very odd. Another thing that's odd to me is the complete and utter unwillingness to just open Monday Night Raw with a match. For the love of God, open up with a match. Now, it's not to say that every single segment that they've done to open up the show has been bad. In some cases, they've been pretty good, where they set the pace for the show, or they set up an angle for the pay-per-view. Like last week was pretty good with Heath Slater coming out as the big surprise and cutting a decent promo, and starting off like that, because it added a lot to the Extreme Rules match, added a lot to Dolph Ziggler being an underhanded heel and stuff like. But this VIP lounge segment tonight really did nothing at all for my excitement level for watching Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler. Since they taped this show, like this tonight's Raw and last week's Raw were all taped in the same day, last Friday. Not this past Friday, but the Friday before that. They were all taped the same day. I would have held Heath Slater off until this week. I kind of get why they didn't, because this week is the week where that 3-month hold on the contracts expires. So in all likelihood, there's a good chance that Heath Slater will wind up on Slammiversary this Saturday night. So it's like, I guess you don't want to give him any advertisement. But you gave him the advertisement last week. It's not like no one's going to forget that, even though wrestling fans do have notoriously short memories. But I would have put that segment on this show because what they did tonight was they've made Dolph Ziggler look. I mean, they did a good job making him look underhanded last week, but even still, Heath Slater got beaten 30 seconds and then Ziggler got chased off. Ziggler's had no heat whatsoever. He's cut some okay promos, but there's been nothing there. He talks about how McIntyre owes him everything. He wouldn't be in the main event because of, if it wasn't for him bringing him back, and MVP thanks Ziggler for all that he's done. Ziggler says he's never gotten a thank you. It's like, okay, fine. That's your promo. Good. Okay. But then McIntyre comes out, makes fools of them both, as the face should. The face should, kind of get one up on the heels every now and then and McIntyre definitely does that. But then it's like, you know, he does a thing, and like I really love the. I mean, you can even see the intensity in his face. I'm gonna pull that up right now so you can see it. You know how I'm gonna hurt you. I'm going to maim you. Whatever happens this Sunday, it's on you. It's like, yeah, that was a good line. You can see the intensity in his face. Like that brought some excitement, and it's like, okay, good. And if they just left it there, I'd have been like, all right, like I'm interested to know what Ziggler's stipulation is. You know, and I'm interested to see how McIntyre fights back from that. But then it's like McIntyre said, oh, I want to get some action right now. And then he just lays Ziggler out with one right hand. Ziggler, like, you know, he retaliates later in the show, but it was just a very even brawl that gets broken up by the referees, and they go to commercial with them still brawling. So you never even know if Ziggler got an advantage or anything over McIntyre. Even if he just attacked McIntyre backstage and, like, because they attacked, they had the brawl near that practice ring in the back of the performance center. You know, even if he just sent McIntyre's shoulder into the ring post, and it's like, oh, McIntyre might have a shoulder injury going into Sunday, like something to give Ziggler a little heat. He's had almost nothing this entire feud, and now he gets to pick the stipulation. That's great. But I have, like, no doubt in my mind that McIntyre is going to Claymore his head off and retain the title. You know, and as he should. And he should still do that, even if, you know, but, like, you don't want to make it so overt where it's like, God, like the one world title match, because the Strowman Wyatt match is a non-title Wyatt swamp fight, cinematic spectacle, whatever. So there's only one world title match on this show, and you don't want that to be like the foregone conclusion, like, you know, total no heat, no interest, because that's the thing that really should be selling the show. You know, instead we're trying to sell the show now based off of ripping somebody's eye out and stuff like that. Like that's where we're at now. You know, so him laying Ziggler out, that just did not sit well with me at all. Nuffy says, I'm more of a stop watching at the 0th hour kind of guy. Nuffy, how long has it been since you stopped watching wrestling lately? I'd be very curious. And Det Morales says WWE needs to get their things together. I agree. They need to get, you know, Taz talked about them being a sloppy shop. There's something to that. Yeah, he was talking about, you know, the COVID outbreak, of course, but and AEW not having a COVID outbreak despite bringing more fans into the building, like people, you know, like they're putting people in the upper section of Daly's Place, you know, and they're still but they're taking all precautions and they haven't had an outbreak. WWE has, but you know, the sloppy shop where like these storylines are just like, what the heck is going on here? Lost my train of thought for like 1 second there. Anyway, so I like that added nothing. Like did that really need to open the show? That couldn't have been like put at the 9 o'clock hour. You know, like I would have. God, open up with like the Seth Rollins thing. You know, cut his promo obviously, because that sucked, and all it did was make me question why I'm still watching WWE and why anybody else would want to watch this show right now. Like I was literally just sitting there like, who, why would anybody want to watch this right now? Like I get it. I get why people are tuning out in droves. I totally get why Nafis hasn't watched the show in a month and a half and just catches, you know, the recap on the post Raw show and the other recaps from Doug, you know, like it's not really much of a mystery when you see what they've been doing. Ay. Like just you know, so skip Rollins' promo and open up with like Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens, a WrestleMania 36 rematch, which actually was pretty darn good. Just start the show with some action. God, like just change it up a little bit. Like it's the same formula, and that's why they failed in this pandemic. Because they just stayed doing the usual. And they didn't really go outside of that. Yeah, pay-per-views, they do cinematic matches, so we get to see something special once a month. What about for the other... So you have 3 shows a week. What about those other 12 shows that you have to sit through to get to the pay-per-view? If you watch all programming. And those 12 shows, that's 3, 2, and 2. So that's 7 hours a week. It's like... that's a lot of hours to have to watch to get to one 20-minute cinematic match that is kind of entertaining. But lately they've been hit or miss. You know, like who's watching this show? They stayed status quo the entire time. It's like no reason to stick around. All right, moving on. Elimination tag team match: the Viking Raiders versus Andrade and Angel Garza with Zelina Vega. This was actually pretty good. I liked the promo beforehand, even though Eric's, of the Viking Raiders, his promo was a little, it's like the usual crap that they do for him. But I love Zelina Vega and Charlie Caruso. I love the jealousy that Zelina Vega shows to Charlie because Angel Garza is interested in her and whatever. Calling her $2 Chuck. Saying that the narrative that they are having problems is, false, and that they work together. They beat the Raiders already. They beat the Raiders again with the Big Show on the Raiders team. And they had Randy Orton. They can do it. They're on the same page and all this stuff. And it turns out that they are. So this elimination tag was all about showing, there might be a little tension there, but they're on the same page. And this elimination tag that Andrade and Angel Garza won, with Angel Garza being the sole survivor, and Andrade saving him to get, which caused Andrade to get eliminated, puts them in strong contention for the tag title. So this is a team that's still being built up. I really like Angel Garza and Andrade together. I think it's too soon to break them apart. I think that they should show that, okay, yeah, they had some tension, but they're back on the same page. I think, I even think they should win the tag team titles and, have a little bit of a run because they are super talented. I don't know where the Street Profits have been. They have not been on television the last few weeks. I don't know if maybe Angelo Dawkins, because he had the baby and he knew the baby's birth was imminent at the time of these tapings. He had them after the tapings were done. Probably said, like, you know what, with this COVID outbreak going on right now, I don't want to even risk bringing anything home. We got to go to the hospital, have the baby and all that stuff. They probably opted out of these tapings, but still no video packages. They barely even mention them. I think we if that's going to be the case and they're not going to be around, or they're going to be around sporadically, they should change the titles, and Andrade and Angel Garza should have them with the Viking Raiders chasing until the Street Profits come back, and then you can do a lot there. But there's a lot of good with Angel Garza and Andrade. And, it's like, I still don't look at them as stars because of how they've been treated in the past, especially Andrade, where it's like, he spent a year just languishing on SmackDown doing nothing. Like he had a great series of matches with Rey Mysterio and then they did nothing. He came to Raw, he had some matches with Rey Mysterio, then they did nothing, and now they're pushing him again. It's like, because he's the last man standing almost. Moving on. I will move on from that. Det Morales. I remember the times when WWE tried, when WCW was beating them. Triple H even went to WCW live event. Yeah. Yes. Like, there was a time when this company had their backs to the walls and they got super creative and totally changed course on everything they were doing. I don't think there's an attitude error if their backs weren't against the wall, but their backs are against the wall again. I'm not calling for another attitude error by any means, but I am calling like I talk about every week, and I've been recapping WrestleMania 17, and I expect to either be done with that. I don't think I'll be done with it tomorrow. It'll probably be out on Thursday, that final WrestleMania recap that I'm doing. Just watching like the first two matches. I'll give you the first two matches from WrestleMania 17. It was Jericho versus William Regal, and they had William Regal at the time was the WWF commissioner, and he was punishing Jericho because Jericho interrupted his opening speech when he became commissioner. Jericho winds up peeing in Regal's tea. They had a great back and forth, just a really funny and serious storyline. William Regal was doing his Regal things, saying, "You do not besmirch soil in the commissioner's tea." And, Jericho coming out saying his favorite letter is the letter P and all that stuff. Really, just the video package, I was cracking up and remembering just how ridiculous and asinine but funny all that stuff was. And also, it was like, nobody else is doing this. These, I'm thinking like, God, these aren't scripted promos. These are just them, trying some things out and being funny, and it landed every single time because it's like they believe in it because it's them. You know, and even the second match, the right to censor versus APA and Taz, like Bradshaw and Farouk were like, you know, like just like today they would just be a tag team, but like you looked at them as stars. Like Bradshaw cut a killer promo before that. He was given free reign to talk about the Astrodome and how important it was, and that really made this match. You know, Taz had an aura around him. The right to censor was built up really well for, like, you know, a middle of the range tag team. There was a lot of, like, just in the first two matches alone, they had more star power in them than, like, I saw, like, on the first hour and a half of Raw. You know, like they need to change course. Their backs most assuredly are against the wall. You know, you think Fox, you know, like everybody's been talking about demographics and how, you know, because Jericho started this thing where it's, and he's right. Overall viewership doesn't matter as much as that 18 to 49 demographic. You know, I mean, there's different ways of looking at it, but like the one that the advertisers look at, it's like, okay, well, AEW ranked 5th for the night, you know, in terms of their 18 to 49 demographic, and that's the one that the advertisers want, because that means that more young people are watching the show, which means that they can, you know, target those ads to them. You know, it's like because they have a better chance of buying them. You're like, you know, the older you get, the more you're going to save money because you're aiming towards retirement and stuff like that. There's a lot of different factors that go into it. But when it goes to network television, it's 18 to 34. That's the really big number, because you should have a younger crowd watching the network shows. And SmackDown was doing a solid 0.5 or 0.4. Now they're down to 0.2. You think Fox paid $1 billion for 0.2 in 1834? I don't think so. So, you know, when it comes time to renegotiate those contracts again, you know, in 2 years, I think it's about 2 or 3 years they're going to have to start renegotiating again. Like, they're not going to get close to the deals that they got. They're not. They just aren't. Unless they make major changes now. And that's hard to do. But it was hard back then. And they didn't have the stars. They had more established stars. Don't get me wrong. They had Shawn Michaels. They had Bret Hart. But they had a lot of guys that were unproven. Steve Austin. Rocky Maivia, who turned into The Rock. You know, he got a green light to just be himself. And it developed into that. Now he's the biggest star in the world. Steve Austin, same thing. Got the opportunity to cut a promo. Austin 316 says, "I just whooped your ass." Goes to the stratosphere. You know, like, what you're doing isn't working. Obviously, it's not working. So you have to change course. I mean, the whole reason they started scripting promos was so that they could have a more polished TV show and whatever. It's like nobody wants polished when you're watching wrestling. You know, it's not that kind of show, and it never has been. As much as they tried, it never will be. Yeah, they're nominated for Emmys this year. That's great. But, like, who's watching? Who cares? It just doesn't make any sense. They did that change just for the sake of change. And change for the sake of change is empty. And that's how they've come up. They have come up empty since they made that change. There hasn't been many success stories since they went to scripted promos. Anyway, on that happy note, moving on to the show with this show, I'm just going to start blowing through this a little bit. Okay, so the Iconics were taunting Ruby Riott backstage about not having any friends and not having a partner. Liv Morgan, obviously, she was on a boat with Lana, and then somebody in their party got down with COVID, and then Lana's parents both have COVID. Rusev has COVID. So Lana's going to be gone for a while. I don't think she'll be back. I don't think she'll be back for the next tapings at least. But Liv Morgan also probably was just told, like, you know, you better just self-quarantine, because it's not even worth bringing you in case there's something wrong with you and you're asymptomatic. She's been gone. So, you know, like, in theory, it should be Ruby Riott, you know, and Liv Morgan making the big comeback, you know, to save her. But instead, they sent out Bianca Belair, who doesn't belong in this storyline whatsoever, should be doing something meatier, but I don't care, because I just cannot believe that she's been off television for months, and I don't give a shit about main event. She's been off television for months. I'm just glad to have her back at this point. Bianca Belair should be on TV every week doing something, and she should be in the hunt. You know, like as soon as Sasha Banks clears up, like, give Bianca Belair a chance at SummerSlam against Asuka. Like, I don't care. You know, like she's too talented to be sitting on the sidelines. So, whatever it takes to get her back on television is fine by me. Even if it's in this pointless storyline with Ruby Riott and the Iconics, I'll take it because it just means that she's back. For God's sake, how can you keep somebody as talented as Bianca Belair off? She's the EST, damn it. Anyway, R-Truth is backstage with, this was actually a pretty funny segment. R-Truth backstage with Ricochet and Cedric. See, like, R-Truth is like somebody that seems like they actually do give him free reign to just do some silly stuff because his segments don't matter anyway. It's like, they just, if you're going to do comedy, you might as well believe in it. He does a good job. I'm sure some of it is written for him, but he delivers it well in many cases because of his ability to take chicken shit and make it into chicken salad. He comes up and congratulates Ricochet on becoming the MVP of Raw. And Ricochet's like, I'm not the MVP of Raw. I'm facing Bobby Lashley, who will have MVP by his side tonight. Maybe that's what you're talking about. And then Cedric Alexander goes, R-Truth, you should be more worried about facing Randy Orton. He goes, no. I was challenged by Ric Flair. I'm facing Ric Flair tonight. And Cedric says, no, that was Ric Flair challenging you on behalf of Randy Orton. So it was like a pretty good thing. He bumps into Akira Tozawa, asks him to teach him how to be a black belt in 10 minutes, but Tozawa says no, tries to pin him. So R-Truth kicks out and says, meet me in the ring. We're going to have a 24/7 title match right now. So he's going to face Akira Tozawa before facing Randy Orton. It doesn't happen because Shayna Baszler comes out, makes her big return to the ring, beats up Tozawa's ninjas. R-Truth and Tozawa both run away from her. They're scared. Shayna says that she let these weak women's champions run around and have fun thinking that the trail of broken limbs left in her wake was a distant memory. Well, it's time for a reality check, and she is that reality. Shayna Baszler's back. Again, another person where it's like, why did we call her up if we had no plan for her? Why? How does that make any sense? Shayna Baszler is, again, a great character. They got something with her. She's 39 years old or whatever it is, 38, 39. Figure it out. They did it on NXT. Follow their blueprint. Who cares if we already seen it? Just build her up. But, she's somebody who probably should have just stayed in NXT and never been called up to, Raw or SmackDown because they want more characters. And that's just not who she is. Her character is not that of the usual character. So she's not fitting in. She doesn't fit their mold. Good to have her back, but I'm not holding my breath that they're going to do anything special with her. And that's why, again, like another reason to just keep tuning out, because everybody who is good and gets pushed on NXT gets called up. And, granted, some of these people just can't swim, when they're the small fish in a big pond. When they're the big fish in a small pond, they do great, but they don't stand out. But Shayna Baszler has a unique look for the women's division and a different style. She can stand out. Figure it out. Figure out how to make her stand out. They didn't even give her an opportunity. They did a thing at WrestleMania. She gets beat, and that's the end of her. Nafis just realized I'm using a PC for streaming. Yes, I am. Streamlabs OBS is dope. Pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. I'm even thinking about running Wrestleview live myself this week with Doug with me producing this time. So we shall see. That's how excited I am about this. I already talked about the Seth Rollins thing. That promo just made me question everything of what I'm doing with my life now. Where am I? Sorry, I got distracted by something real quick. Oh, goodness. We must have affected the poll. I'll tell you about the Twitter poll in a little while, but I think we definitely affected it. Murphy versus Alistair Black takes place. Normally, like, whenever Murphy and Alistair Black are in the ring, it's freaking awesome. This time around, they never really got a chance to get started because it was just like they were just, a small part of the overall story. Although this was a great spot right here. The Black Mass off the ropes. Murphy falls in the ring. I love that. But he gets pulled out. DQ finish. There's no finish to this one. It was good while it lasted. Alistair Black and Murphy, gosh, they are just great in the ring together. Leads us to finally Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens. Rey Mysterio, Alistair Black, and Dominic are at ringside for Kevin Owens. Murphy is not there for Seth Rollins because he got black masked. So they really put over the finish, like that finish by having Murphy go to the back and never return. He never returned at any point. So that's good. I like that. Makes Alistair Black's kick look very devastating. It already looks good, but if you put it over as something that's like devastating like that, where he can't even return to help Rollins at the end of this match, that's a pretty damn good finish. That's a great way to put something over. They actually had a good back and forth match. I really like Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens together. Kevin Owens wins with the stunner after Mysterio, Dominic, and Alistair Black distracted Rollins. So turnabout's fair play in that case. Gets hit with the stunner. And Rey Mysterio says that he's going to rip his eye out after that. So it was a good match. Dumb finish, with Rey Mysterio saying he's going to rip his eye out. And we move on from there. Because I can't talk about this eye for an eye thing anymore because it's so stupid. Good little segment with the Big Show walking up to Ric Flair. Flair putting Big Show over. He says, my career has been long, 48 years. 20 of those years were with you. When I think about all the great big guys that I've been in contact with, including Andre the Giant, you stand out in terms of athleticism and skill. So why are you still doing this? Why are you putting your pride? Is a pride reputation? People won't change their minds about you if you just went back to LA and lived the good life. I'd rather see you go into the Hall of Fame healthy and not because of an injury at the hands of Randy Orton. And Big Show says, you've turned Orton into a killer. I see what you're trying to do. Are you willing to sacrifice your friendships so Randy Orton can be the legend killer? And then they had a little thing with Randy Orton saying, Ric Flair, he puts over Edge and Christian as friends and as well as the Big Show, but Ric Flair is like family. And he hopes that Ric Flair doesn't do anything to jeopardize their friendship. We get our third grudge match of the night, actually, with R-Truth and Randy Orton. Which again, like, I really like this move because, see, like, this is something that they're doing right with Bruce Pritchard. I love when, like, a character that you just wouldn't expect to face, another person, they get together and do something. It was a short match, but, like, I never would have placed R-Truth with Randy Orton, but they did it, and I liked it. It was really good while it lasted. Orton immediately beats him with an RKO, essentially. And he backs up to set up for a punt, but Big Show comes out. Orton threatens him, stop or I'll punch his head off. But this punt had your name on it. So next Monday, I got nothing going on. It's time to finish what you, Big Show, started in an unsanctioned match. Big Show looks fired up and just says, okay. So I thought this was going to be an Extreme Rules match, but they're kind of following this little thing, this little experiment they're trying to get to drum up ratings, where it's like you put a pay-per-view quality match on SmackDown, a pay-per-view quality match on Raw. Like, by all rights, Matt Riddle and AJ Styles should be on Extreme Rules. It's a marquee match. You put it on the pay-per-view, right? No, they're putting it on SmackDown. AJ Styles hasn't been on a pay-per-view since Money in the Bank, I think. Yeah, I think it's been since Money in the Bank. He hasn't been on a pay-per-view. He's like, even the Intercontinental title finals, that was on SmackDown, because it's better to get that rating than, like, who cares? People are going to subscribe to the network anyway to watch the show. Whatever. Like, does AJ Styles really need to be there? The show's already sold. So they're going to put Randy Orton and Big Show on Raw, which actually I like better than having it on the pay-per-view. I don't know why. Like psychologically, it like changes that match for me a little bit. So, and also, God, like, Big Show, like there are so many gifs out there of Big Show, like, especially like in that 2014-2015 thing with the Authority and Triple H, taking Big Show's house, buying his house or whatever, and Big Show crying. Like, there's so many great gifs of Big Show. This one, like, that face is that face is right up there for me. Look at that mug, man. Jeez Louise. I'm really thinking about making that like my desktop background. Because it's that damn good. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so they're gonna have an unsanctioned match. I just looked at it again. An unsanctioned match next week on Raw. All right, I'll sign up for that all day long. Bobby Lashley beats Ricochet by submission, so MVP is going to face Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews, here's a guy that they built up, and then they just take him off TV and make him look weak, and I hope MVP beats him. and he joins, and I hope that he joins MVP stable right after, because what they're doing with Apollo Crews, isn't working for me. I don't know how do you feel, Chad? How do you feel like they've done with Apollo Crews? Because I think it hasn't been good. I don't think it's been good. Finally, our main event. Again, they put no advertisement into this. Just little graphics in the corner of the screen. Like, there's no reason for you to have even thought, like, oh, what do I need to stick around to and watch the third hour? There's nothing going on, right? Like, they told me 2 hours ago about the women's tag team title match. I forgot. I remembered, of course, because I'm recapping the show. But, like, the average fan, how many people are going to tune in to stick around and watch that? Especially after Bayley and Asuka wasn't really that great of a main event last week. If you remembered. So, but they actually wind up having a pretty good match. In fact, I would even just go as far as say it was a good match. Everybody hit their spots. Everybody looked good in this. Kairi Sane, this is probably like the first match that I've seen from her in quite some time, probably since the WrestleMania opening match against Bliss and Cross, where Kairi Sane just looked really good. She looked on point on everything. Asuka, of course, was great. Sasha Banks has come a long way. The heel character, she definitely works better as a heel. Of course, they're going to turn her face against Bayley. And Bayley, she was okay in this. She didn't embarrass herself, that's for sure, in the wrestling ring. And she normally doesn't embarrass herself, but she doesn't exactly impress either. But they really, really good back and forth. Kairi Sane looked really strong in this. Like, there was a couple near falls where I was like, oh my God, they're actually going to switch the tag team titles after they just did that big video package for Sasha Banks and Bayley. When she hit that insane elbow, like, I love when they get me, like when I'm like, oh, wow. Like, I watch these shows pretty closely and like I can usually figure out where they're going. If I'm like, oh my goodness, like, wow, I really thought that was the end right there. When they get me like that, I am a happy camper. That makes me so happy when they do that, because I don't really get those opportunities. Like nothing really surprises me most of the time. When she hit that insane elbow, I was like, oh my God, they're switching the titles. That's so crazy. And then, of course, she gets pulled out of the ring. Really, really great little spot right there. Banks counters into a Banks statement, gets the submission. Good main event overall. And overall, as much as I had complained about that Seth Rollins promo, for God's sake, it was so bad. Like, the show was pretty good in terms of building up to Extreme Rules, and the most of the matches were good. Like, there was nothing that was really bad. In terms of being a 3-hour show, it didn't really feel like 3 hours to me. So I'm, kind of happy about that. It wasn't a bad show, but like that one promo just reminded me of all of the missteps that they've made as they've gone on. So what say you in the chat room? Do you give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Nafis really digging my setup here. It needs some laser on the eyes. I don't know what that means. But Jeff, go to AEW. Matt needs you. I think Jeff should just retire in WWE. I don't think he needs to be putting his body on the line anymore. Mashoon Wall is asking what happened to Nia Jax. Well, it's like, I guess they just decided, like, okay, she had her title match, and then she pushed the referee, like, let's just take her off television for a little while, and, we'll bring her back. It seems like they are just cycling people in and out. I think Nia Jax is one of those people that just kind of fell into that category. She's cycled out right now. Nafis says, thumbs unmoved. Thumbs don't care from Hayden Barker. Thumbs in the middle from Quentin. As I wait for more. I think Nia character was destroyed 2 weeks ago after she was humiliated. I don't know what she was humiliated by. I don't remember that, her being humiliated. Anyway, I will show the Twitter poll while everybody else still comments. 64% thumbs up. So it went down from 75% to 64. So I don't know if people are watching the show and they decided, we're going to put a thumbs down on this now. But there it is. It's still a positive rating for Raw. Victoria's still in with the baby. I don't think I can hold on any longer. I think we're going to start wrapping it up because we've got... no way! What the hell is going on in 2020? The Grant from Mythbusters died. How? If you ever watch Mythbusters, like Grant was like such an upbeat, positive guy. Like, I don't understand what the hell's going on anymore. Wow. He had a brain aneurysm. So like that's just like you don't even know you don't know you have a brain aneurysm basically until it's too late. You get a headache and it's like, oh, you're dead. Damn. What the hell is going on in this damn year? I hate this year. It's crazy. God damn it. That sucks. Victoria is back so she can say goodbye and also give us her rating on the show. Michonne Walls gives it a thumbs up. Damn. Yeah, it was a brain aneurysm. That sucks. Anyway, Victoria, welcome back. What do you say about Raw tonight? You give it a thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs up.
All right. On that note, we're going to wrap the show up on that depressing note about Grant Imahara. But damn, that sucks. I'm really just damn. Man. Anyway,
I gotta say goodbye again anyway.
Oh, she's up again? Oh, yeah. Wow. So that was quick. All right. On that note, I am Mike.
Bye, everyone.
On that note, check us out. I will be back for Wrestleview News with Jerome on Thursday. Doug will be on Wrestleview Weekly giving his predictions for the horror show at Extreme Rules on Friday. And on Sunday, we'll be doing Wrestleview Live. And the next week, post Raw number 90. Don't miss it. We'll see you then. Have a great week, everybody.